Good afternoon and welcome to the Market Wrap for Thursday, the 5th of March. And today was a bit of a better day for the Aussie market. By the end of the session, we're up by around 0.5%, closing at 8,940 points. That is partly thanks to the positive lead-in from Wall Street overnight. And of course, we are rebounding from our worst 2 days of losses since April as investors continue to monitor the ongoing situation in the Middle East. Now today, China was also in focus. It held its annual two sessions meeting, which actually kicked off yesterday, where China's top policymakers, business leaders, academics and the like meet to decide on the priorities of the world's second largest economy for the year ahead. Now, the most closely watched outcome from the meeting is usually its economic growth target for the year, and today China set its lowest economic growth target in decades of between 4.5% and 5%. Now that compares with roughly 5% for the past 3 years and even higher for many years before then, which signals a more cautious outlook as it deals with deflationary pressures. Of course, it's been under quite a bit of pressure since coming out of COVID lockdowns. It's also been facing an extended property crisis, as well as the heightened trade tensions with the United States. So that was certainly in focus today. Now, across the different sectors, we saw most of them actually improving. 8 of the 11 improved. We saw solid gains from the tech space, which was up by around 4.5%, but it does still have a long way to go before it recovers from its recent sell-off, with the sector still sitting around its worst level in about 2 years despite today's improvements. Energy tracked the lift in oil prices, with oil up almost 20% just this week. Gold has been a little bit more volatile. It's been down for the past couple of days. It was back up today, but remember, it's coming from record levels. It hit an all-time high in late January. It rallied very hard for the last few months, which started late last year. So I think that's why we're not seeing bigger gains, but it still remains about 20% higher since the start of this year in terms of the gold price. The gold subsector was down for a third straight day today, but remember, it did rally 123% in 2025 and also remains higher in year-to-date terms. But that sort of explains why we haven't seen that huge flight to safety to gold. But look, today gold miners were very much a weight in the mining space. We also saw BHP adding weight as it traded ex-dividend, and that seemed to somewhat overshadow iron ore prices climbing to its highest level in weeks, above $101 per ton, driven by rising freight costs and also after Beijing vowed to support its steel sector. Rio Tinto and Fortescue, though, did improve today on the back of that lift in iron ore prices. Healthcare gained around 2% and financials rose by 0.75%, all helpful in lifting the broader market. Now, in terms of some of the winners, fund manager Magellan was back to gains today after announcing earlier this week that it plans to merge with Aussie investment banking firm Barrenjoey Capital Partners to create a full-service investment bank. Wearable sports technology maker Catapult Sports was another winner after it announced late yesterday that a substantial shareholder has upped their stake in the company from around 6.3% to around 7.3%. Counter-drone technology firm DroneShield climbed by 10% as investors buy into defense stocks. And buy now, pay later player Zip has made a comeback after 3 straight sessions of losses, and it was also one of the worst performers over the course of February after some disappointing results. Gold miners landed near the top of the losers list, including Westgold and Capricorn Metals. Of course, BHP was down close to 1%, and we had a long list of companies actually trading ex-dividend. On top of BHP, it was also the likes of Rio Tinto, Woodside, South32, but also others that aren't quite so big, like Monadelphous, which actually was the worst performer on the ASX 200 today. We had QBE, Livisa, Perseus Mining, and many more trading ex-dividend today. Now, we have seen the Aussie dollar recover from where it was yesterday. It actually dipped below 70 US cents, so it's a little bit above that. It traded as high as 70.7 US cents during the session, but seems to have come back down a little bit as we approach the end of the session. Now, looking ahead from here tonight, pretty quiet in terms of things that are scheduled. Of course, investors are going to be very much watching the situation in the Middle East and any developments there. On top of that, we have weekly jobless claims coming out of the US and a few earnings results from the likes of Merck and Costco. Tomorrow tomorrow, fairly quiet in terms of scheduled news here in Australia, but we do have a couple of more stocks trading ex-dividend, including Ampol and Aussie Broadband. Have a nice night.